Forms it's an onside kick. It is picked up and run by Downey. Smitha. Turner's got a man. It's Smitha. He's down to the 2-yard line. You've got a linebacker playing quarterback. And the linebacker's going to score a touchdown. Touchdown. Houston Owen, the linebacker, in for the score.
We got this. Hey.
Looking right, pressure there. Picked off. It's picked off by the Rebels. Sam Hansen running all the way down the field to the 37-yard line. Throws, got a man open. It's Mollison. He's got it to the 42-yard line.
And you got to bring it down just like that.
Jordan Ross shot in. You saw Turner throws it, swing pass, Tonsmeyer, perfect throw. Touchdown Rebels. He'll roll left. He'll fire it deep. It is, the Rebels are coming.
They played better than we did in the fourth quarter, and hope to see those guys again down the road. We would love to play them fully healthy. It's just like tomorrow morning they go back to work. You know, I mean that's life. That's why people love football, because it mimics it. There's no other sport that mimics life like football does. You get knocked down all the time. You go back to work and you try better.
Don't often see that when both teams come in at 1-3, but these are two teams that are on the cusp of really trying to get something going. Both have had very difficult seasons thus far. Both have played both Thompson and Hoover, who are expected to finish at the top of this region, and so this is exactly what it is. It's a playoff game in Week 5 of the season.
And both teams lost to Thompson pretty much by the same score, 35-14. New starts with Tim Bakakis being the head coach here, Robert Evans of Vestavia, both being old school toughness, but also nuance and nouveau ideas. So it's very similar.
Yeah, the similarities are really incredible when you look at these two coaches, both in their first season, and trying to lift up a program that has had success in the past, but has fallen down a little bit in the last few years. They're coming in, they're hard-nosed, they have a new approach, but they're also using analytics. They're using technology. I mean, this is a new school approach to this high school football, and both of these coaches are doing it. And I think, again, despite the records, I think they've both been very pleased with what they've seen from their team so far this season.
Let's take a look at the Vestavia schedule like we always do to kind of give you an idea of the lay of the land for the Vestavia Rebels. And we take a look, and obviously the only game we won was Homewood, a top 10 6A team. You see the Thompson score, but Hoover last week, 20-14. Luke Turner coming in and playing very well, and he did about as good as you could expect a backup quarterback.
He gave Vestavia an opportunity to win the game, and that's all you can ask for. And for Vestavia, Coach Evans told us coming into the season, he tells us every week, we just don't have the depth right now that we need, and that's what you saw last week against Hoover. Vestavia just ran out of gas at the end.
There's the schedule tonight, a big one in Trussville with Hoover going over there, Oak Mountain, Tuscaloosa County as well. Another big one, obviously, in the red. And then the standings for Region 3 7A. We take a look at that.
Yeah, and both Vestavia and Spain Park are going to be at the bottom of those standings, 0-2, but this is early in the season. And you look at the top as well. It's Hewitt and Hoover playing tonight. That's really to take the lead in the region. You feel like those two, along with Thompson, are going to be competing for the championship. Spain Park and Vestavia, despite where they are now, they feel very good. If they can win tonight, they've got a chance to climb into that third or fourth spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, half the teams are going to lose tonight, right?
That's exactly right.
Half are going to win, half are going to lose. The other side of our broadcast team is BJ Milliken, our sideline reporter, and BJ's on the field. And the good news, BJ, is a major weapon on offense will be back for the Rebels.
That's right, Griff. J.P. Head. We last saw him in the first half of the Thompson game. He went out that game with an injury. He will be back starting tonight for the Rebels. That's huge. And let me tell you guys, down here on the field, it's a little bit, there's a little breeze rolling through. It's upper 70s. It's a perfect fall night for football. And one thing that was missing from last week's game, and I think a lot of this has to do with the in-sync ability that John Paul Head had with this offense, was explosive plays. Coach Evans talked about it at halftime, that there was a lack of explosive plays. Well, guys, tonight we're on the fast track. We're not on the Met. We're not in that thick grass of the outfield. We're on the turf here at Spain Park. So maybe look for a little bit more explosive plays from the offense, from JP Head and his guys coming up tonight.
All right, BJ, and that was a difference last week. Luke Turner threw the ball well, but he's not the runner Head is. He's not that twofold threat.
No, the coaches had to be very creative in the way that they ran the offense last week. Actually used Littleton at quarterback as well, had to mix it up. But the bread and butter.
And scored the touchdown.
Absolutely. You brought a linebacker in to run the Wildcat and score. But the bread and butter of this Vestavia offense are twofold. One, they want to run the ball with John Paul Head, and two, they want to go fast. They were not able to do that this week. They are going to be really focused on doing that this week with Head back in the game.
We've got a great one coming up here. Stay with us. We've got the kickoff coming up at 7 o'clock. We'll take a break. Brought to you by On Time Service, the fine folks there. We'll come back with more in just a moment.
Dr. Melanie Petro has a simple philosophy.
I love to see them look in the mirror and see themselves several years ago. It reconnects them with who they are.
Dr. Petro is double board certified and fellowship trained to help you see you again.
When you see yourself again, all of a sudden you're not just reconnected with your face, you're reconnected with yourself, and it gives you a confidence.
When the on-time service technician arrives in your home, you give us an amazing opportunity. The opportunity to earn your trust, to arrive at your home on time, to fix the problem in your home, and to never sell you something you don't need. When the job is done and the technician leaves, I want you to be really pleased with the work. And I want something more. I want you to say to yourself, I trust that guy.
Lifeline's ministry is necessary because God has ultimately called the body of Christ to manifest the gospel to vulnerable children. We see it beginning in the Old Testament in the Pentateuch. God continues to renew that call over and over and over again to the people. Lifeline, in its role, church, to live out the mission that the church has been given to proclaim the gospel through orphan care.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck, yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Yes!
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Alabama, because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Beautiful sun setting here in Hoover, Alabama. Spain Park, the home field of the band about to start playing. The Rebels and the Panthers, both 1-3 at Jaguar Stadium here on the campus of Spain Park High School. We had a chance to talk to head coach Robert Evans, obviously on Tuesday nights at Moe's Original Barbecue there off Rocky Ridge Road. And we talked to him a little bit about last week and how well Vestavia played in the game. He's not into moral victories, but he was very proud of his team after last week.
I thought our kids fought their guts out, and being down JP was a big deal. But I thought Luke did a nice job and kind of kept us in the game and did what we had to do until the fourth quarter, and then kind of depth issues defensively.
Yeah,
did us in at the end. But that's part of this region, and kind of got a big game this week against Spain Park, and need to win to kind of control our destiny with the playoff. So. But was proud of the guys, and just wish we had finished better. Had some calls you'd like back in the fourth quarter, but that's that's probably every game you play too. So, but we fought tooth and nail, and again playing the upper tier in our region, and that's just kind of how the schedule fell this year. But I think people are respecting the way we play, and rightfully so.
I tell you, and the winning touchdown for folks watching, if you haven't seen the video yet, you can see it on One Rebel Athletics YouTube and Facebook page. But they scored with under 2 minutes to go to even do that. So Vestavia was really tough the entire game. Now that we look back on Thompson, Hoover in a row, like you said, that kind of upper echelon, the thought process the last few years, maybe chasm is probably too strong a word, but it was a pretty big gap. How do you see it now, just in your first few games?
I do think we have a good group of seniors, and I do think that in probably 2 or 3 years, when some of our younger grades are juniors and seniors, when our 8th graders and 9th graders are juniors and seniors, I think we'll be in the upper echelon and winning some of these games consistently. So it's not going to happen overnight, but we got a good group this year that can play with anybody on a given Friday night and can beat anybody. I really believe that. We'll see what happens down the road, but we've got to take care of business this Friday to have any kind of chance to get back to Hoover and Thompson.
We got Spain Park coming up Friday. We've been calling it a playoff game for a couple of weeks now. Very similar scores to Thompson, and they play them a week after we do. So tell me some differences then that you see. We know there's a lot of similarities, and
their front is very similar to probably Hoover or Thompson. They got They got 3 Division I kids on their front, on their defensive front. So very talented up front. We'll have to really hold our blocks, but they've got a sophomore that's got offers from all over the country, and looks like a future NFL kid. I mean, just really long and athletic, and but they've got 2 seniors that have lots of offers. I think one's committed, or they're both committed to different schools, but and their schemes are new. They've gone back to some of the old Spain Park offensive stuff from 5-7 years ago, and they do good things on offense, and then defensively. They're 4-3 things, and Tim's a program builder, and so he's able to kind of tie everything together, and I just got a lot of respect for him and his dad, and the amount of work they put in the last 15 years in the 2 city schools that they worked at. And they were horrible, and then by the time that he left JO, they were in the playoffs every year making runs, and so that's a credit to him. He'll do the same thing at Spain Park, and he's a tough guy, and they're trying to be a tough-minded program like we are. So 2 very similar programs, and we both obviously understand the stakes and need to play well on our end to win the game.
Absolutely. So with what you can allow, you said JP Head likely could play. I'm sure Watson will be more healthy, I would hope. How are those guys looking if they're doing, and how limited are they this week?
Yeah, I mean, JP's he's practicing, and we hope to have him, but he's also got to be comfortable. So,
yeah,
we've had those conversations with him, and when you're dealing with those type injuries, you got to feel confident going into the game, and think he'll be there, but that's ultimately up to him. And but. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll be as healthy as we can be. We've been in 2 physical games, but so have they. They've played the 2 same teams we have, just in reverse order. So, but next week's an off week for us, and our guys, just asking them to empty their tank, and we'll recover next week. So, be another emotional game, and it'll be physical, and needs to be physical on our end, because I'm sure Spain Park will play that way as well.
So, what have you found out about your team so far? I know we're not at the halfway point, but we're almost there. What do you? As you look over the totality of 4 games?
I think that on a given night we can beat anybody in our state, and I think that includes Thompson. And on a given night we can get beat by pretty much anybody in 7A as well. So I think our margins for error are very
thin. That's right.
But if we play well, and we played well for 3 quarters the other night without our quarterback, we can beat just about anybody. And so ultimately, we've got a great senior class, and I want nothing more than those guys to be able to experience the playoffs. They haven't had that experience yet. It's been on 3 or 4 years, and once in the last 6 or 7 years from Vestavia going to the playoffs. But
yeah,
I really do feel like we're a top 10 team in 7A, And the region is what it is, and there's just no margin for error, and we understood that on the front end. So hopefully we can continue to control our destiny, and all's not lost if it doesn't work out well. You still have a chance and would have to win out and get some help, but we want to be able to control the narrative and not have to rely on other people.
We honor the colors here at Jaguar Stadium in Hoover. We'll take a break and come back with more. You're watching the Rebel Nation Sports Network.
Renew and refresh. JH Outback focuses on strengthening family bonds with spouses, parents, and children to help in spiritual growth and life purpose. Join us for a fun-filled weekend together in an undistracted environment, enjoying the outdoors with great food, entertainment, and live music. JH Outback, coming to Birmingham October 28th through 30th, and also next spring, April 21st through 23rd. JH Outback. Renew and refresh.
For more information, go to choosera.org.
I want on-time service to be the home service company you can always trust. That involves every process and every person in our business, starting with me. It means you trust our technician to arrive at your home on time. You trust us to give you the cost of the job in writing before the work begins. And you trust us to fix what's broken. You've given us the opportunity to earn your trust. We could never ask for more than that.
Your future is here at Birmingham Fastener.
Welcome back to Jaguar Stadium, Spain Park High School. Scott Griffin and Chad Pilcher, BJ Milliken here, the entire crew. And it's the 1-3 Panthers against the 1-3 Vestavia Hills Rebels. Tonight, basically a playoff game, as you've heard Robert Evans say, for a couple of weeks now. Pretty good Vestavia crowd on hand. Of course, the students always travel well to Vestavia. And, of course, last week, the Rebels losing to Hoover 20-14, basically with their best defensive player being a last-minute start. And I'm not sure how percent he was, but John Paul Head did not play. He's available tonight, and that should make a big difference.
It should. Having your starting quarterback back in the game, running your offense is going to make a big difference. But it really speaks to what Vestavia did last week when you look at how well they played against Hoover, despite the fact they were playing with their two backup quarterbacks. Luke Turner came in, had a really good game, threw the ball well. I thought he controlled the offense, had a couple throws he probably wanted back where he had some opportunities to hit some plays but didn't quite hit them. But overall, played pretty well. Littleton comes in, plays some at quarterback. He actually threw an interception in that game, but as they went back and watched it on the tape, as Coach Evans has said, when you slow it down, you actually see that ball hit the ground. It looked like a fluke play, and the ball was tipped up, intercepted, and taken back down the field where Hoover eventually scored. But in watching the tape, that was actually incomplete. But there's no replay in high school football. There's nothing you can do about that. And what Coach Evans ultimately said is Vestavia just ran out of gas. They've been worried about depth all season long. They didn't have enough juice at the end, and Hoover was able to make the plays when they needed to win the game. So now it's turn the page. Forget about that game. Your record doesn't matter. All that matters is tonight coming into against a much improved Spain Park club under their first-year head coach, and Vestavia obviously much improved despite the record under first-year head coach Robert Evans.
If you're into comparing scores and that kind of thing, the Thompson score for both of these, because both teams have played Hoover and Thompson back-to-back. They kind of swapped opponents. Those were similar. However, Hoover beat Spain Park a little more decidedly than they did Vestavia, and Vestavia started their backup quarterback. Is that something to hang a hat on?
It's something you can compare and something that broadcasters can talk about. I don't know that it matters much when you look out here. The other thing I would point to, though, when you're looking at schedules and how they played, Vestavia had the 35-0 win over Homewood, which is a dominant performance by Vestavia. The loss to Mountain Brook, 24-14, a very good 6A team that's going to compete for a state championship, whereas in the first 2 weeks, Spain Park beat Calera 14-10 on a last-second touchdown with 23 seconds left. They lost to Briarwood 23-21 when Briarwood scored on a last-second touchdown. So two teams that aren't quite up to par in the non-region. Spain Park has played a lesser non-region schedule than Vestavia has. Again, both records are still the same, so that's the bottom line, is winning the game. But if you're looking for comparisons, I would say from a strength of schedule standpoint, Vestavia's had a little tougher schedule and probably played a little better when you look at the scores.
Vestavia will wear the red helmets with the blue stripes. As you can see there, that's a good-looking uniform. Robert, you said they wanted to wear the white helmets, but it didn't happen tonight, right?
Yeah, not enough. Everybody's dressed out and ready to go, and so unable to equip them in the white. But I think the red looks good. And one thing I do see there's Tucka Smitha walking out to be a captain tonight. Smitha did not practice all week, had a sore back. Has been working through that, did not practice, but they felt like he was going to be able to go tonight, and there he is out as a captain ready to go.
And he was the leading receiver last week against Hoover. Let's take another break. We'll come back with the starting lineups and much more here from Jaguar Stadium, getting ready to kick it off in just a few minutes. You're watching the Rebel Nation Sports Network.
When you have an appliance problem in your home, call On Time Service. Our appliance technicians will arrive on time in trucks fully stocked with hundreds of replacement parts. From stoves and ovens to washers and dryers to refrigerators and dishwashers, it's appliance repair on time or we pay you $59. And always backed by the On Time Service guarantee. For appliance repair, call the Appliance Pro at On Time Service.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Alabama. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
Lifeline's ministry is necessary because God has ultimately called the body of Christ to manifest the gospel to vulnerable children. We see it beginning in the Old Testament in the Pentateuch. God continues to renew that call over and over and over again to the people. Lifeline, in its role, comes alongside the church with that very narrow specialization to allow the church to live out the mission that the church has been given to proclaim the gospel through orphan care.
Dr. Melanie Petro has a simple philosophy.
I love to see them look in the mirror and see themselves several years ago. It reconnects them with who they are.
Dr. Petro is double board certified and fellowship trained to help you see you again.
When you see yourself again, all of a sudden you're with your face, you're reconnected with yourself, and it gives you a confidence.
There's the Vestavia Hills Rebels running out. As you can see, the Rebels again in red helmets, white jerseys, and gray pants. The Jaguars will be wearing all black tonight. As you can tell, their colors are black and blue. As you can see, under new coach Tim Vakakis, we're just a couple of minutes away from the kickoff. Let's take a look at
Brady Johnson, senior, wide receiver.
Jaden Daniels, junior, receiver.
Hudson Hager, senior, offensive line.
Jack McMurray, senior, offensive line.
Rick Smith-Allen, senior, O-line.
JD Livingston, sophomore, O-line.
Glenn Porter, senior, offensive line.
Warren Ainsworth, senior, tight end.
Wheeler Smith, senior, D-line.
Andrew Sykes, senior, defensive end. Wayne Wisenhunt, senior, defensive tackle.
Jordan Ross, junior, D-end.
Samuel Hanson, senior, linebacker.
Gaines Johnson, senior, linebacker.
Houston Owen, senior, linebacker. John Martin Richter, senior, safety.
Michael Dobbs, senior, safety.
Will Cox, senior, safety.
Grant Downey, senior, cornerback.
Owen Nelson, junior, cornerback.
Robert Evans, head football coach, Vestavia. Welcome to tonight's game. Go Rebels.
All right, there's the starting lineups for tonight. The Rebels and the Jaguars of Spain Park. Jaguars are obviously in the all black. The Rebels in the red helmets, as we said. White jerseys and the gray pants. You've got Tonsmeyer and Lockhart, two running backs, back for the kick.